Hi, welcome to another Excel demo with Rich Kerr. In this scenario, we're going to take a look at the updated import from web feature inside Microsoft Excel. So I've got a video on this functionality that dates back to Excel 2013 and prior, but they've updated the capability and made it a bit more polished. So let's take a look at how it works now. The basic premise is the same. You want to import some data from the internet to use in your spreadsheet, and that could really be any kind of tabular data. So in this scenario, I'm going to suggest that we want a list of holidays, right? I found this website, timeanddate.com, and it's got a list of US holidays. And maybe I would find this useful as I'm doing some planning for my workplace and I want to be able to see where holidays are. I might even incorporate some of these dates into some formulas when calculating things like project duration and stuff like that. So I want to bring this data into Excel, but I certainly do not want to rekey this entire list. So I'm going to take the URL from up top. I'm going to copy that URL listing, and then I'll just move this over. And so on the data tab in my ribbon, I'm going to go to the From Web option, right? So that's in that section labeled Get and Transform Data. It's got a slightly different label now. So Get and Transform Data from Web. And so the interface is different from what you may have seen before. It has a more streamlined layout, whereas before it was a little mini web browser embedded in Excel. And while that might have been a little bit more intuitive, the problem with it was basically a stripped down implementation of an old version of Internet Explorer. And so if the website that you were visiting had any scripts, any animation or pop-ups, it would just wreak havoc on the process, give you lots of error messages before you could eventually get to your data. So this process is a little bit more intuitive, or let me say a little bit more polished and less error prone. So I found the URL through my web browser and pasted it here, and I'll choose OK. And so what happens is it'll go out and look at the website that you've referenced, and we can see in this particular view called Table View that the website contains two tables. Any HTML page is going to have the document table, which has information about the page itself, and that's really just something referenced by your web browser. But the table that has the data we want is also listed, holidays and observances in the United States. Now, you can also toggle to the web view, which shows the data, how it looks through your normal web browser. But I love the table view because it cuts out all the other extra visual information that you don't really need. You just want to see the data you're trying to pull in. So when I select it, here's the table. That's what I want. So instead of a button labeled Import, I'm going to choose simply Load. Now there's two pieces here, Load and Load To, where you can pick where you're going to load the data to. But I'm just going to go straight to Load, and it's going to bring it right into wherever my cursor is. And so now we have that list of data from the website, and it's been brought into my Excel application, and I can use that however I want. It also turns it into a table. So you now also have, along with this, all the different attributes of working with a table inside Excel, and you can kind of do whatever you want with that. Interestingly, there's a column here labeled Header, which really seems to serve no purpose for us in Excel. So that was just a structural component in the source table that I don't really need. I could actually just hide that so that it just isn't taking up any space. But outside of that, you've got interesting information here. It's got the date as well as a column with the name of the day of the week. So there you go. That's how we import web data. You can filter this too and look at certain things like which holidays are national, state, etc. And you can do further manipulation of this data by applying queries to this data. Maybe, for example, you only want to see holidays that are observances but not actual holidays. So things that we will observe but not take off work from, things like that. So if you want to find out about filtering tables, I have a couple of videos on that. The purpose here was to talk about how do we import data from the web. Oh, and probably one of the most important things is if you accidentally typed over your data, you did something that created some problems with your data, you can simply right click and choose refresh, and the most recent data from that website will come right back to your table. So that's one of the advantages, is that you can refresh the data to get an update. You can also right click, and if we go to, in fact, the right click is where you can find refresh. You can also do a refresh up here in the data tab, so you'll see a refresh option here as well. But you can also click where it says properties here in the queries and connections area. So when I click properties, it shows me some information about the imported data, like what the table was called, and should the data automatically adjust column width when new data comes in. Well, there's a little button here for additional query properties, and if I click that, I can specify an automatic refresh interval. So if this were the kind of data that was changing frequently throughout the day, you could set that timer, and so every so many minutes the data would update on its own without you needing to click refresh. So if you had, say, stock data or other sort of rapidly changing info, this might be a great way to go. You can also tell Excel to refresh the data when opening the file. So every time you open your Excel file, you'll get a refresh of the data at that time, and then however many minutes you specify, and click OK. And then again, that doesn't stop you from still doing a manual refresh whenever you want. So that is the import from web feature that is now the standard in Excel and Office 365, or Microsoft 365 as the new name is. Thank you so much for tuning in. Come back soon for more Excel demos with Rich Kerr. Have a productive day.